Agnes lived in a charming little cottage with a thatched roof and a garden bursting with flowers. She loved her little home.
I do love my little home.
Agnes spent her days baking delicious treats and tending to her garden. The scent of freshly baked cookies often wafted from her windows, filling the air with warmth and sweetness. It was a sight that brought a smile to the faces of everyone who passed by.
Oh, the smell of cookies always makes me happy.
Agnes was well known for her marmalade. She made it with oranges from her own little orange tree. Her marmalade was a local favorite. Everyone said it was the best they'd ever tasted. She stored her precious marmalade in a big, beautiful jar. It sat proudly on the top shelf of her pantry.
My marmalade is quite special, isn't it?
One sunny morning, Agnes decided to treat herself to some toast and her delicious marmalade. She went to the pantry and reached for the jar. She was in for a surprise. The jar felt much lighter than usual. Agnes put on her spectacles and peered inside. To her astonishment, the jar was almost empty.
Now who could have taken my marmalade?
Agnes was very puzzled. She knew she hadn't eaten that much marmalade. Her kind eyes narrowed playfully as she decided to investigate. Agnes thought about her neighbours. There was old Mr. Thompson, but he didn't care much for sweets. Then there was Mrs. Peabody, but she had gone on a trip to visit her sister. Agnes racked her brain, trying to think who might have taken her marmalade.
Who could it be?
Suddenly she thought of young Timmy. Timmy was a sweet little boy who lived down the lane. He often stopped by Agnes's cottage after school. Agnes loved to see his bright, cheerful face. She always had a plate of freshly baked cookies waiting for him. Timmy did have quite the sweet tooth. Agnes remembered how much he loved her marmalade. In fact, she couldn't recall a time he hadn't asked for an extra spoonful.
Well, that little rascal.
Agnes chuckled to herself, picturing Timmy sneaking into her pantry. Agnes decided to have a little chat with Timmy. She baked a fresh batch of his favorite gingerbread men. She knew he wouldn't be able to resist. As she waited, she couldn't help but feel a bit mischievous. She knew Timmy was a good boy at heart. It wasn't long before Timmy came bounding up the garden path, his eyes sparkling with excitement.
Hello, Agnes.
Come in, Timmy, come in.
Timmy sat at the kitchen table, happily munching on his gingerbread man. Agnes decided it was time to solve the mystery of the missing marmalade.
Timmy, have you been in my pantry lately?
Timmy's eyes widened and he looked down at his shoes.
No, Agnes.
Timmy mumbled, his cheeks turning a bright shade of red. Agnes knew a fib when she heard one. She decided to give Timmy another chance to tell the truth.
Timmy, it's all right if you had some marmalade, but it's important to be truthful with me.
Timmy looked up at Agnes, his eyes filled with tears. He took a deep breath and confessed.
I did take it, Agnes. I'm so sorry.
Timmy looked utterly ashamed of himself. He explained to Agnes that his family didn't have much food at home. His father had lost his job and his mother was working extra hours to make ends meet. Timmy hadn't wanted to worry Agnes with his problems. He'd thought he could just take a bit of marmalade without anyone noticing. Agnes listened patiently, her heart melting with compassion. She realized that Timmy hadn't taken the marmalade out of greed, but out of necessity. When Timmy finished his story, Agnes enveloped him in a warm hug.
Oh, Timmy, you should have told me. There's always enough to share in my house.
Agnes packed a basket full of food for Timmy to take home. There were loaves of freshly baked bread, cheese, fruit, and, of course, a big jar of her special marmalade. Timmy's eyes widened in amazement as he realized Agnes wasn't angry at all. He felt a surge of gratitude for her kindness. From that day forward, Agnes and Timmy's bond grew even stronger. Agnes made sure Timmy and his family never went hungry again. She would often invite them over for delicious home-cooked meals and share her garden's bounty with them. Timmy, in turn, helped Agnes with chores around the cottage and in the garden. He learned so much from her, especially the importance of honesty, kindness, and the joy of sharing. The marmalade mystery had brought them closer than ever, proving that sometimes the sweetest things in life come from unexpected places.